And so we're on to Ruth 1:14. And we finally are going to get the parting of the ways. See if you can pronounce the Hebrew. And here's how I would pronounce it. Va tisena colon va tiv kena od. All right, what do we recognize? Well, od is just a word. It means still or again. I know kol means voice. I see na, 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 na. There's a lot of na here. Na is a feminine plural, imperfect ending that we've seen a number of times now. Here, I think it's the possessive. So their voice, as in Orpah and Ruth, raised their voice. Oh, this is awful. And it is. Of course, I'm not making light of it. It was awful. So what's going on here? We've got Vav Patak doubling. That looks like a converted imperfect, which means it's a preterite or a past tense. That means that the tav is imperfect. So we've got a tav, na, 1-2 punch. This is either a second feminine plural or a third feminine plural. Here, I think it's a third feminine plural, a they. And they, what did they do? They lifted. Sorry that it's off the screen a little bit, but that's a D. And they lifted their voice. That is Orpah and Ruth, two ladies, so it's a third feminine plural. More on that in a second. And they wept. So again, same thing, third feminine plural. We've got Vav Patak doubling, which is a converted imperfect or preterite, past tense. Tav, which is imperfect. Tav, na, 1-2 punch. It's either third feminine plural, which is what it is, or second feminine plural. Then we're left with baka, baka, which is to weep in the middle there. So putting it all together, and they lifted, because hiding in here, as I'll show you in a second, is NASA. We have liftoff. Nasa. And they lifted their voice and they wept again. Okay, so let's look at a couple forms here that are kind of fun. Remember, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Let's take this form here, Vatisena, and let's pull the accordion out. Okay, we pull it out. What do we got? We got the na, the tav, and the na. 1-2 punch is third feminine plural, right? The third feminine from the tav and the third feminine plural from the na. Okay, more on nasa or nasa in a second. Vav Patak doubling, converted. Okay, so it's a preterite. This is a call stem or a G stem. Nothing done to the stem. All right, so the big deal is how in the world is that nasa? NASA taking off. We have liftoff. So that dot there, the dagesh, is the nun. Nun assimilates when no vowel separates, and so gets sucked into the scene, and that's where the nun went. The aleph is a little bit peculiar, and we have a stray bullet here. You just ignore that dot there. That's nothing. But the aleph does sometimes quiesce, which is for sound purposes it disappears. This is a bit bizarre that it doesn't show up here, at least to me. But I assume that this is maybe can we say that this is written defectively, and that because the aleph wasn't pronounced, it decided, well, I've got better things to do with my time. If you're not going to use me, I'm going on a break. But anyway, the aleph is missing. So there you have it. It is a call, converted imperfect, third feminine plural from nasa, and they lifted. Okay, the next one here is va tiv kena. Okay, so let's pull the accordion apart. And what do we have? We got the na and the tav, 1-2 punch. This is third feminine plural. We've got I should have taken the vowels out. That's not a doubling dagesh, I don't think. I think that was this is a silent schwa. I think that was a hardening dagesh, a bagad kafat, dagesh. So this is baka, and that's a third hay. A lot of third hays were originally third yod, and so the yod came back. Who knew? So third feminine plural, third feminine imperfect from the tav performative, baka, it's converted, and they wept again. So, and they, the two women, lifted their voice, na being their feminine plural, and they wept again. Okay, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And now for the rest of the verse. So see if you can pronounce that. Here's my feeble attempt. Va tisak arpa, or orpa, that's a kamatz katuf. It's a O. It's not an A, it's an O. Orpa, laka mota varut davaka ba. Humbug. Okay, so what is this? What do we recognize? Vav doubling. Okay, that's probably a converted imperfect. And then just a tav. No, na. It's not a 1-2 punch. It's a 1 punch. And so probably that's third feminine singular with orpa as the subject. Orpa did something. What did she do? She kissed. I'm sorry again, I didn't pull my screen wide enough, but it's a D. And Orpa kissed her mother-in-law, to her mother-in-law. So la is to. The kamatz hey with a mapik is I'm a real hey. The mapik tells you it's a real consonantal hey, and it's the possessive her. To her kamoa. Anyway, her mother-in-law. So, and Orpa kissed her mother-in-law, but, now I'm going to go with but here because the vav is not on the verb. Normally, verb comes first with the vav on the front. However, here, the vav doesn't, the verb doesn't come first. The noun comes first. Interesting. I think that's because it's contrastive. Orpa kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. So we have a parting of the ways. Orpa's going to go back to Moab. Ruth is going to go with Naomi back to Judah, to Bethlehem. Okay, what else do we have here? I think so this is nasak. Did I analyze that? I did. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the analysis of this here. So we've got vav patak doubling. That's a converted, as it were, or it's a preterite. It's a past tense, historically. And then that means the tav is imperfect. Third feminine singular in this case, imperfect. Which means that we're missing a consonant. Ba, there's the hint. There's the dagesh, the doubling dagesh. So it's nasak. It's nun assimilates when no vowel separates, and the nun gets sucked into the sheen. Nashak, it's nashak. Shock to the, no, okay. So an Orpa kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. So davaka here, the kamatz hey is third feminine singular perfect. So this is an imperfect. This is a preterite, imperfect call, third feminine singular from nashak. This is a call perfect, third feminine singular from navak. From navak? From baka. This is from baka. So it's third feminine singular. Ba is then ba, which means in, and hey with a mapik. I'm a real hey, which is her, the object suffix, third feminine singular. Okay, there you have it. So we have a parting of the ways. Naomi has said, "You guys, I'm not going to have children. You're not going to have husbands. You're not going to have children. Go home." And Orpah says, "I'm sorry," and she goes back to Moab. But Ruth clings to her. To be continued.